I was born in 1982 in Beijing, China. I spent my first 16 years of life in China, growing up there. And then I came to Singapore in 1998. And I lived in Singapore for 18 years. And that is when I started my tech sales career. In 2016, I came to live in the Netherlands. Here is where my husband grew up. And I started to do a freelance coaching to sales professionals. And that is my business now. Okay, the title in your episode, The Decade, is referring to a time between 2007 and 2016. Actually, I worked in total for 4 companies, namely Salesforce.com, Pointpal, Lumesse, and Tableau. In the first 3 companies, I was only doing an individual sales role. Only until my last 1.5 years in Tableau, they asked me to switch to sales trainer. So then I changed my path, basically. Now I look back, I think my career path is a bit ahead of my time, but maybe right for your time. And what do I mean by that? You see, when I started my sales career, SaaS was a brand new word. And also BDR, SDR is also brand new. I believe both things were pretty much invented or introduced to the mainstream by Salesforce.com. And I first did 2.5 years of purely inbound qualification at Salesforce. And then I did a purely 1 year outbound prospecting role in Salesforce. And then only after 3.5 years, I entered an AE role. And that role I did in Pointpal, in Lumesse, and also in Tableau. And that is a mix of inside sales, meaning mainly selling through the phone, and also field sales. And that is not the kind of path my generation of AEs typically take, because not many of them had the first SDR, BDR experience, you see. Yep. And in terms of my these 4 companies, right? 2 of them are from North America. One is European headquartered, and one of them is Australian Canadian founder. So these 4 companies, when I joined them, they were all, besides Pointpal, which I am a salesperson number 1, the other 3 were all having less than 50 employees in the entire APAC region. And all of them were at a stage where they were trying to break into the APAC market. So this is quite unique because it means I experienced possibly fastest growing period of these companies in APAC. And therefore, I can relate very well to all the previous guests sharing about coming into a new market, trying to find a landing point and then penetrate the market, eventually grab the majority share. Yeah. So, yeah. And in terms of the countries I covered, mostly were Greater China region, except for, I think, Pointpal and Lumesse, I was covering Singapore. But I also worked with pretty much all the 6 regions in APAC when I was a trainer. So I do know a bit about India, Japan, Korea, and ANZ in that sense. And when you ask about the type of companies, the persona I sell to, industrial and vertical, and also company size, right? I realized that my experience is also quite unlike my generation of salespeople. And it's primarily because the company was Salesforce.com. Salesforce.com was selling CRM, and it sells to all departments. So I have to interact with like VP of sales or CEO, and then VP of service, and then VP of marketing, and of course CIO will be involved, right? And at that time, more than 10 years ago, most of the other software companies were usually only sell to IT or only sell to a particular department. Like, for example, when I was selling at Lumesse, they are selling talent management software to HR. And so really, Salesforce and Tableau are the 2 companies that I have the experience to sell to all departments. And then in terms of the company size, I think Salesforce was also the one that started this slogan called democratization of software. So from Salesforce introducing the subscription model, small companies like those less than 10 employee size could start to afford good software like the big banks could do. So I sold to 1-person startup and also selling to 1,000 employee kind of company while I was at Salesforce. And that is the experience, which means the sales cycle duration, the stages, and the complexities are all very different from one to the other, as you can imagine, right? And I think lastly, I think Salesforce is probably the first company that has built flexibility into their software system to accommodate all kinds of tweaks to suit all kinds of industries. So when I was selling in 2007, 2008, we actually had a customer story page that listed all kinds of industries that have customers using Salesforce. So the challenge for us was to really remember those use cases and be able to share those stories on the phone, depending on whoever the lead come from, which industry they come from, you see. Okay, so that is quite a bit of a history, isn't it?